Welcome back to the Angus Report. I'm Crystal Albers. I'm joined today by renowned stockmen Kurt Pate and Ron Gill, and we've been discussing the importance of low-stress cattle handling. And on the bqa.org website, there's a list of the 10 keys to effective cattle handling, and so we want to launch into some of those right now. Ron, you can take the first one, which is the only way to work cattle quickly is slowly. What do you mean by that?
Well, cattle need the ability to think about what we're asking them to do. And if you're rushing through, you're miscommunicating a lot of times with cattle. One of the best sayings I've ever heard was a quote from John Welch, manager of Spade Ranches, that said, never mistake motion for accomplishment. And from that standpoint, you've got to be precise in your movements and asking cattle to do something if you want them to respond correctly.
Which leads us to our second tip, work from the front to draw cattle to you. And that seems almost counterintuitive. It seems like a lot of people work from the back. But what do you mean, work from the front to draw cattle to you?
Well, cattle, when they can see with both eyes, they have depth perception and they like to look at you with two eyes. And so if you can gain their trust and work them from the front first and then let them pass by you, it's gives a lot more confidence to the cattle.
A lot of things we do in livestock production is we need the cattle to come past us and be comfortable doing that. And if we don't work and teach them, it's all right to draw toward us and past us. Very difficult to sort, load cattle, and a lot of different things. So really important that they learn to do that.
And number 3 is apply pressure when cattle have a place to go. Explain what that means.
Well, we see a lot of times when people are trying, particularly when working from the back side of the cattle, we're pushing on cattle in the rear of the group when we're actually wanting the ones in the front to do something. And so we have to force them to put pressure on the front to get them to move. And so we're actually putting pressure on the ones that are trying to do the right things, and the ones that aren't responding up the front are not receiving pressure. So that's another reason to work from the front. You can draw those cattle through and make the ones that would lead the pack to start first, and not have to force the whole group to start movement.
Now the fourth tip for effective cattle handling is to apply pressure from the side. Now we've talked about applying some pressure from the front. What do you mean apply pressure from the side?
So at some point you got to leave the front and work. If you're loading them in a chute or on a truck or in a trailer, you got to go from the front and they've got to go by you, and so then you work on their side. They can still see you with one eye. If you get behind them a lot of times where we all want to go, then they can't see and they turn their head or try to turn and face you. So if you stay on their side, you have better communication abilities with the animal.
And what's kind of the rule of thumb then? How do you know that the animal can see you?
The field of vision on a cow is, they can see everything except right behind their rump. And you can change that by elevating yourself. One reason working cattle horseback is advantageous is you're up higher and they can see over their shoulder and over their hip. And so you've got even a wider range of vision that an animal can see you.
But the farther you go back towards the tail of the animal, the less focused you are, and that creates a lot of problems because the animal can't focus on it, and then he turns his head to become into focus, and that creates a change in direction.
A lot of times it's so slight in that head shift that you really don't even notice it unless you're really paying attention, but you can turn a whole herd by drifting slightly to their hip.
Number 5, cattle must be comfortable to go by you and stay straight, which is a lot of what we just talked about.
But our position is what keeps them straight. See, and that's what, when people are handling cattle, they just want to get in one spot and stay there. And what we need to do is watch the cow's head or the animal's head, and as it starts to change, we have to reposition ourselves on the side of the animal to straighten that head back out if we want them to go straight. So our position, the cow doesn't have to change, we have to change sometimes, and that's very helpful.
Well, we've talked about the first 5 tips, and there's some more remaining that we'll continue to discuss with Ron and Kurt when we return after this.
The Angus Report is brought to you by Alticid IGR Feed-Through Fly Control. Reduce horn flies by feeding Alticid for 30 days past the first frost to keep flies from overwintering. Learn more at alticidIGR.com.
You load them up, you head them out, you load them off again. Showing is tough, but it's everything in between that knocks livestock off their appetite. Get them ready for the show ring with the industry's leading 1-2 punch, Sure Champ and VitaCharge. Fortified with Amifirm, Sure Champ contains the right balance of minerals and vitamins to maintain a strong, steady appetite, to keep your livestock looking and feeling their best. And VitaCharge stimulates appetite after those long road trips or times of stress and gets your livestock back on track. Sure Champ and VitaCharge. More wins, more appetite. Learn more at surechamp.com.
Horn flies cost cattle producers nearly $1 billion a year. They interrupt grazing, cause loss of blood, and impact your bottom line. By incorporating Alticid IGR into your supplement program, you can prevent the emergence of adult horn flies. Alticid IGR will significantly reduce stress on your cattle. For pennies a day, you can control the most costly parasite and increase your profitability. Contact your feed supplier to incorporate Alticid IGR today.
Schiefelbein Farms is all about family. Schiefelbein Farms is one of the largest registered Angus herds with more than 700 cows. Schiefelbein Farms is customer service. Our customer buyback program ensures top dollar for our customers' calves and ensures the use of high-quality Schiefelbein bulls. Schiefelbein Farms, changing the way seed stock business gets done. Learn more at www.schiefelbeinfarms.com.